Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. Or if you're joining later, happy whatever day it is when you join. I hope that it is a wonderful day. I'm excited to be here with you today, teaching this gentle yoga flow. For me, when it comes to Friday, I feel like I'm in this hustle and bustle mode. I've been doing it for about 5 days now, and I'm just kind of, in this this cycle of doing. And so what feels nice for me on a Friday afternoon is just to take some time for mindful movement. So this gentle yoga class will really be rooted in this idea of mindful movement. So we'll just be moving really mindfully through every pose and everything that we do. And don't worry if you feel mindless at points. Your week has probably been a lot, and that's totally fine. Anytime that you recognize that you're coming away from the body or the breath, maybe just take a moment to bring it back as many times as you need to is totally fine. So I'm really happy to be here and to be teaching on behalf of Hands to Heart Community Yoga. So my name is Nicki, and I am a yoga and meditation instructor here in Boston. And Hands to Heart Center is a really great program bringing yoga to underserved populations who need it the most. And so I'm really happy to be here teaching on behalf of them. All right, so for today's practice, you won't need any props. If you have a yoga mat or a towel, that's great. I actually do have a blanket, so would suggest that if you have one. I think a blanket is always just a good tool to have on hand. But if you don't have any other props, that's fine. If you use blocks or straps or whatever, you can use that as well. Completely up to you. You'll notice throughout the practice and right now, I really just do encourage you to make this practice your own. If at any point your body is telling you something, that it needs a break, that it's in pain, just listen to it and adjust accordingly. It is your practice, so really want you to make the most of it. All right, I think that is everything for my intro that I wanted to say. So let's go ahead and get started in the sequence. So the first thing we're going to do is just open up with a little bit of mindful breathing. And so I like to come into easy pose for this, crossing my legs and then sitting on a blanket just for a little bit of cushion, but it's completely up to you. If you like to sit in hero pose, or you like to start on a chair or lying down, whatever feels best. Either way, I would just encourage you to find a position that is both comfortable, but also alert. So not falling asleep quite yet, you can leave that for the end. But in the beginning, just allowing yourself to be alert, be mindful. If you would like to close the eyes, you can. Otherwise, another option is to lower the gaze. Just for a moment, notice your body. Notice how it feels when you bring your attention to it. No right or wrong, just notice. And now bring your awareness to your breath. Same thing, just notice how it feels. No right or wrong. Maybe it feels like a shallow breath today. Maybe it feels like you can take a deep breath today. Maybe you're breathing into the chest. Maybe you're breathing into the belly. Just observe. It's amazing what a few moments of mindful breathing can do to help kind of slow things down in the body and the mind. So now we'll begin to take a few counted breaths together. So through the nose, we'll inhale to the count of 3. And through the mouth, we'll exhale to the count of 4. So the exhale is 1 beat longer than the inhale. So after your next exhale, let everything go. And breathe in through the nose. 1, 2, 3. Breathe out through the mouth. 1, 2, 3, 4. Take a normal breath. Again, breathe in through the nose. 1, 2, 3. Breathe out through the mouth. 1, 2, 3, 4. And take a normal breath. And again, breathe in through the nose. 1, 2, 3. Out through the mouth. 1, 2, 3, 4. And take a normal breath. And do 1 or 2 more of those at your own pace. Maybe extending the out breath by another beat, or shortening either the in breath or the out breath by a beat. And now begin to return to your normal breathing pattern. And when you're ready, you can slowly start to open the eyes. Just come back to your environment for a moment. And we'll begin to make our way into a child's pose. And so in the theme of mindful movement, maybe you move there slowly or gently. So maybe now turning towards the short edge of the mat, taking the knees wide, sitting back towards the heels, and then lowering your head towards the ground. And this can be a great place to place the blanket, bringing the floor a little bit closer to you. And we'll begin by extending the arms out in front of us if that is comfortable for you. But I encourage you, since we were just focusing on where we felt the breath, I encourage you to explore where in this pose you feel the breath. How does the breath feel? The body is in a completely different shape. So how does it feel to you? Take 1 or 2 more breaths here, and we'll start to invite some movement into the pose. So we'll start to invite a side body stretch into this expression. So in order to get there, take your hands, lift them up away from the mat, and start to walk them towards the left upper corner of the mat. And so it's as if you're almost reaching towards the left upper corner with your right hand. And with your right hip, it's almost as if you're reaching back towards the right bottom corner of the mat. So the arm is pulling away from the hip, creating this side body length on the right side. Again, breathe here. Notice where the breath is. And start to gently walk your hands back to center. And this time, walk them towards the right upper corner of the mat. And then reach your left hip towards the left lower corner of the mat, creating life in the side body. And then walk the hands back to center. And this is where I'll offer an option here. You can either stay with your arms extended in Child's Pose. If you would like, you could try bringing the knees a little bit closer together. And instead of reaching the hands out towards the top of the mat, maybe try playing around with placing the hands on either side of the feet. So it's a little bit more relaxing of a, or not relaxing per se, but restorative of a pose. And see if you can let the arms really give into the mat here. Allow them to fall down, allowing your body to be supported by the mat. And then from here, slowly and gently start to walk the hands forward. Place the forearms on the mat so that your head lifts up. And then shift your weight forward, coming up into a tabletop pose. So your hips are located above your knees and the shoulders are above the wrists. And from here, push away from the mat with the hands and with the tops of the feet. And now begin to invite your cat-cow movement into the body. So starting with our cow, we'll drop the belly, lift the gaze, lift the chest, breathe in. And then as we breathe out, we'll round the spine, coming into cat, taking the gaze to the belly button. And breathe in, move back through your cow pose. And breathe out around the spine for your cat. Continue to move through cat-cow for 3 to 5 rounds. Whatever your body is yearning for today. One way to stay mindful in your cat-cows is through the breath. So continuing to match the breath with each movement. And eventually come back to your tabletop position. And we'll start to invite some movement into the shoulders, which might feel good based on what your daily activities are. But what we'll do here is move into a thread the needle pose. So a couple of ways to get there. One is by taking your right hand, lifting it up off the mat, and reaching it out towards the side. So you can't see, but kind of like this. And then as you breathe out, start to take your right hand, draw it underneath the left arm, palm facing up, and then bring your arm, shoulder, and right cheek to the mat. The left hand can be a support system here for you. You can arch the hand a bit here or keep the hand flat and just kind of keep that arm a little bit more active to assist with balance. And if this pose is a little uncomfortable or it's a very intense pose, another option could be to sit up on your heels and simply do an across arm stretch. So show it here. So grabbing like right underneath your armpit with the left hand and pulling the right arm across the upper body. That's another option. If you're in thread the needle pose here, start to lift yourself up gently, reach your right hand back out to the side, and then place it back down on the mat. And we'll do the same on the other side. So if you're taking option number 2, you can sit back on the heels and stretch across with your left arm, grabbing your right or left upper arm with your right hand. Or if you're doing thread the needle, you can lift the left hand up, draw it underneath the right arm this time, bringing the shoulder, arm, and cheek down to the mat. And use the right hand as support. And wherever you're at, slowly, gently start to work your way back up to your tabletop pose. And from here, we're going to start to do a little bit of a warm-up. So we're going to start to kind of build the heat here. So from our tabletop position, this might feel a little funky, so kind of play around it and see what works for you. Also, I should say, being in tabletop for this long can be a little sensitive on the wrists and the shoulders, so if at any point you want to just come down to child's pose, please do. What we're going to do is tuck the left toes, and we're going to keep the left toes tucked, so we're keeping them in this like flexed position here. And we're going to lift the bottom of the foot up towards the ceiling. So it might feel a little weird, but essentially what's going to happen is we're drawing a 90-degree angle from our seat all the way up to our heel. And so it's almost as if we're trying to reach the ceiling. We have like paint on the bottom of our foot, and we're trying to stamp the ceiling. So we're going to make a little sequence out of this. So we'll start here by lifting up towards the ceiling. As we breathe in, and then as we breathe out, we'll crunch this leg down, bringing the knee up towards the chin, rounding the spine. And as we breathe in, we'll reach with the left foot towards the ceiling, stamp that ceiling. And as we breathe out, start to crunch. Breathe in, lift the leg, and breathe out, crunch. One more of these. Breathe in, lift the leg, and breathe out, crunch. And come back to tabletop. And shake out the wrists for a bit. All right, now we'll do that on the other side. So with the right toes this time, tuck the right toes. And start to lift the right foot up towards the ceiling as if you're going to stamp it with paint on the bottom of your foot. We'll hold this here for a moment, and then after our next in-breath, as we breathe out, we'll crunch in, reaching the knee towards the chin. And then as you breathe in, lift the leg. And out, crunch. Breathe in, lift. And breathe out, crunch. One more, breathe in, lift. And breathe out, crunch. And return back down to tabletop position. Right, from here, we'll do a side stretch again, but just kind of in a different expression than when we were in child's pose. So what we'll do from here is take the left toes, tuck them, place them straight back behind you to start, and then cross them over your right ankle. So right now, your left toes are kind of moving out at a diagonal out of your hip. And then if you like, you can keep the hands here. This might be a strong sensation, or you could start to walk the hands towards the right. And notice just the length in the left side body. Also requires a little bit of balance. So on the topic of mindful movement, you definitely have to be mindful here. And then come back to center, and then come back to tabletop. And we'll do the same with the right foot this time. Step the right foot back, cross it over the left, and start to almost take your gaze back towards the right foot. And then come back to center and to tabletop. And from here, let's go ahead and give our wrists a little bit of a break. You can just sit back for a moment if you'd like, or you could take a child's pose. Either way, use this as an opportunity to reconnect with your breath. Again, noticing where it's at, noticing how it feels. And then start to make your way back up to a tabletop. We'll only be here for a moment. You know, we've been in a lot of tabletop today so far. But what we're going to do is move through a little flow to kind of come into a low lunge pose. So one way you could get here is by stepping the right foot back. We'll start with the right foot. Lift it up as if you're about to do a bird dog pose, extending the right foot behind you. And then start to swing your knee forward into a crunch, and then step it up to the front of the mat. Now, you may find yourself in this position. It kind of looks like a 90-degree angle on both legs. I'm actually going to be using the support of my hands, kind of scoot my left knee back a little bit. So that way I'm in kind of a little bit of a lower lunge where I can feel a sensation in my left hip flexor here. So this is where I'll stay for now. Play around with what feels best for you. And we'll stay here for a moment. If you'd like to release the hands up towards the ceiling, you can certainly do so. Something else that might feel nice here is opening up the chest towards the left, coming into this twist. Either way, just continue to breathe. And then from here, place your hands back down to surround or to frame the right foot. And we'll start to move through a bit of a flow here. So right now we're in a low lunge. Where we're going to go is in a half split. So we're going to sit back near or towards, like we're going to move our seat towards our left foot. And so our right foot will probably start to come up off the mat, and you'll be in this half split expression. One thing I like to do is actually tuck my back legs and sit back on my left heel. I just find it a little bit more accessible for me. And I keep my hands on the mat just to allow for some additional support, because this is a very intense stretch for me, especially because I did a lot of biking this week and it's not the best about stretching afterwards. And then we'll start to move forward back into that low lunge. If you need to adjust, you can. And also if your knee is sore at all, we have hardwood floors here. It can be helpful to put a blanket underneath your knee. Once you're in low lunge, perhaps you come up again, raising the hands up. And as you breathe out, place the hands on either side of the right foot, tuck the back toes, and come back into your half split. And we'll start to move through this a little bit quicker. We'll just do 2 more of these. So we'll move forward into low lunge. Again, if you'd like, you can come up. And as you breathe out, place your hands down, come back into your half split. And then come back forward into your low lunge. And come back into your half split. And now this time that we come up to low lunge, we'll come back into our tabletop position. So returning the hands and the legs back to where they were. And this time we'll move through the sequence on the right side. So stepping the left foot back, we will come up into our bird dog expression. And then start to crunch the left knee in towards the chest and step up to the top of the mat. And then we'll be in the low lunge on this side. I actually am going to put some support under my knee. Give me a moment. All right, from here, if you'd like to bring the hands up. If your knee is sore at all, please place a blanket underneath it. It just made such a huge difference for me. Maybe it'll help you too. And then as you breathe out, take your hands down, come into your half split on this side. Whew, it might feel way different than the other side, and that is totally fine. And then shift forward into your low lunge. And then come down to your half split. And then we'll do 1 more, coming into your low lunge. And then to your half split. And start to move yourself forward, returning your left leg back to your tabletop. And once you're in tabletop, we are going to take I think it's only 1 downward facing dog, maybe there's 2. But we're going to take a downward facing dog to help us get up to a standing position. I'll offer a couple of options. If you want to take downward facing dog, we can do that together. If you prefer, one thing you could do is tuck your toes, come into a little toe stretch here, and then simply just work your way up by using your hands as support. If you'd like to flow through downward facing dog, you can do that as well. by spreading the fingers wide, placing them against the mat, tucking the back toes, lifting the hips, and lifting the knees. Trying to find as much space in the arms and the back as possible. And if you're in downward facing dog, just gently walking your way up to the front of the mat and starting to lift yourself up slowly to mountain pose, where we will meet, hands by either side, palms facing open. Maybe play around with swaying back and forth. Here, finding a feeling of groundedness. So your feet are really sinking into the mat. Also swaying back and forth can just be a nice little foot massage. And then from here, we'll go ahead and lift both hands up towards the ceiling. And we'll start to find a side body stretch here. You'll notice we did it seated and in tabletop, and we're doing it standing as well. So just explore how different it is in each pose. But what we'll do is take the right hand, grab the left wrist, and reach the left wrist up towards the ceiling, really high. Root the right foot down into the mat. Feel the length in the right side body. Are you able to breathe into the right side body, creating and breathing into this length? And then come back up, release the hands, reach the hands up, and then with your left hand this time. Oh no. What did I just do? Well, okay, I may have instructed that wrong. But with your right hand this time, grab onto your left wrist and reach towards the right upper corner of the ceiling. I definitely gave 2 different sets of instructions. You'll have to forgive me. Yoga teachers are also human, and it's been a busy week, so appreciate your forgiveness. Either way, do whatever feels best for you to be able to find this side body stretch here. And then come back to center, release the hands down, shake out the arms. Whew. It's really like a pretty good workout. Just doing a time check. All right, now from here, I'm just going to move my blanket out of the way. From here, we will come into I don't even know what to call it, but just a little like standing leg flow is what I'll call it today. So I'm going to face you so you can see what I'm doing here. We're going to start by shifting the weight into the left foot. And with both of our hands, we're going to grab the right knee in. We can interlock the fingers. Squeeze the right knee in towards the chest. This in itself is very difficult. So see if you can find your balance here and see if it's possible to get comfortable. If you need to focus on something on the ground, you can do that. You need to roll out the ankle, you can do that as well. And then from here, drop the left hand down towards your side, keeping the right knee in your right hand. Start to take the right knee and direct it out. So it's almost like your knee is sticking out, pointing directly right of your right hip. So you're pointing it towards the side wall on the right side of you. So we're rotating the hip outward. And from here, I know this is very difficult, so hang in there. From here, we'll start to move into tree pose. So we could place a couple of options. You can grab the foot, place it on the upper inner thigh. You could grab the foot and place it on the inner calf, or you can place it on the inner ankle, wherever feels best. And then from here, take the hands together at the chest and hold this tree pose. This is a great pose to practice mindful movement because we are still, but we're also trying to balance. And so just focusing on where your body is kind of drawing your attention to. Notice if you're holding your breath, you're tensing your belly, and see if it's possible to let that go. Notice if you're tensing in your face, if you have any facial expressions, and let that go as well. And then you can release. Shake out the right leg, shake out the left leg. All right, from here, we'll do the same thing on the other side. So shifting your weight into your right foot, grab your left knee with both hands, squeeze the left knee in towards the chest, hold it here for a moment, continue to breathe. And then grab the left knee, bring the right hand down to your side, and then open up the left knee towards the left side wall. So you're rotating your hip outward. Stay here for a moment. I know this one is tough. And then come into your tree pose. Whatever feels best for you today. Bring the hands together at the chest. Similar to last time, check in with belly. Check in with the face and the breath. And then you can release, shake out the legs. And then from here, it's likely that you're facing the short edge of the mat. So I would say, well, you can start from here. But essentially what we're doing is coming into a wide-legged stance like this. So you can open up towards the long edge of the mat here. Either way, just find a way to kind of get comfortable here. Play around. If it feels too wide, too narrow, just kind of play around with it as we go. But what we're going to do from here is you may notice your feet automatically point forward, or maybe they point out diagonal. Where we want to be right now is diagonal. So take the feet out to about, 25, 30 degree angle. And then find a wide enough stance so that if you were to sit down and squat like this, that your knees wouldn't go over your ankles. And so that's what we'll do. We'll begin to connect the movement with the breath again, just doing some kind of gentle movements here. So what we'll do is as we breathe in, we'll start to bring the hands up towards the ceiling at the same time, squatting down into the legs. As we breathe out, we'll take the hands down by our sides, coming up into, or straightening the knees. And then we'll breathe in, squat, lift the arms, and breathe out, straighten the knees, drop the arms. Breathe in, squat, reach the arms, breathe out, straighten the knees, drop the arms. Do 2 to 3 more of these at your own pace. And then just let your arms go long here. Keep the knees straightened. Let the body just kind of be supported by the mat here. The upper body be supported by the legs. How does your body feel after that movement? And now we'll take the feet, it's actually the left foot. We now want to turn it out so that the left toes are pointing towards the short edge of the mat. And we want to bring the right foot in. So it's about like 10 degrees inward. And then we're going to come into warrior two. So from here, start to bend into your front knee, your left knee. 90-degree angle. You can shorten or lengthen the stance as you need. And then once you're here, reaching both arms out to both sides. If it's comfortable on the neck, take the gaze over the left fingertips. Warrior two. From here, if you'd like, you can reverse the warrior, spinning the left palm up towards the ceiling and reaching it back behind you, taking the right hand to the right leg. And then we'll eventually come to a side angle pose, taking your left forearm down to the left thigh. Reach the right hand up. And notice if you're slouching at all on the left side body. And see if you can push away from your left leg so much in the forearm that it lengthens the left side body. And then using the strength of your legs, start to work your way back up to warrior two. And then straighten the left leg. Spin the toes back in. So now you're in this wide-legged pose again. And this time, we'll step the right toes out towards the short edge of the mat. Bring the left toes back in. And then bend into the right knee. And swing the hands up. Warrior two on this side. Really push away from the mat with both feet. Strong legs here. And if you'd like, you can reverse the warrior, spin the right palm up, reach back. And then come into warrior two, side angle, taking the right forearm to the right thigh, reach the left hand up, reach, create a ton of length in the right side body. And back up to warrior two, just for a moment. Straighten the right leg. Bring both feet in. Take the hands down. Just shake it out. Let yourself relax here for a moment. All right, from here, if you'd like, you can start to bend over, just coming into a wide-legged forward fold here. Placing the hands down on the mat, letting your head rest. And then from here, starting to walk your hands towards the left side, spinning the left toes forward, taking your left foot back to meet the right in a downward facing dog. And then drop the knees down and come all the way down to your belly. And take a sip of water if it feels nice. All right, I'm actually going to switch on to this side here. So once you're on your belly, let's just take a restful pose here for a moment. So stack the hands on top of one another and rest one of the cheeks on the hands. And allow your body to be really supported here by the mat. While our physical bodies might not necessarily be moving here, there's a lot that's moving internally
And there's a lot that's moving with our breath being pushed against the floor. And so can you still kind of take a moment to be mindful of this experience? Just notice what you're feeling. And then we'll begin to work through a couple of Shalabhasana poses, which are my absolute favorite. But I will offer another option for you to do baby cobra. Maybe that feels better. And so let's just play around and see what feels best. But in order to get there, we'll have to, unfortunately, lift the head. I know it probably felt nice. And just kind of start by coming up into a Sphinx pose for a moment while I describe what happens next. From here, so if you're coming into Cobra, things to focus on are the feet, the glutes, the lower belly, and the shoulders. So we'll start by going through Cobra. So come back down onto your belly and place your hands so that they're on either side of the rib cage, or kind of like where the chest meets the rib cage. And starting with the feet, push the tops of the feet against the mat so the knees might lift here. Squeeze the glutes together. Tuck the lower belly in ever so slightly, and then squeeze the shoulder blades together. And you may notice that this automatically starts to lift you up a bit from the mat. If you're sticking with Cobra, see if it's possible to squeeze the shoulders even more, lifting the chest up, taking the gaze forward. And stay here, maintain your breath. If you'd like to invite a Shalabhasana into this, you could start by lifting the toes up off of the mat, lifting the knees up off of the mat, and perhaps lifting the hands up off of the mat as well. Again, continuing to breathe here. Notice if you're holding on in your face, and if you are, try to release that tension. And then gently come all the way down. Take one cheek to the mat just for a moment. Let the body fully relax, release any tension. And then we'll do that again. So starting with the feet, push away from the mat with the tops of the feet. Squeeze the glutes. Squeeze the shoulders. If you're in Cobra, maybe staying here, seeing if it's possible to lift the chest even a little bit more. If you're coming into Shalabhasana, lifting the feet up, lifting the knees and potentially the hands, and perhaps you might even take the hands reaching behind you. Kind of like when we were in the child's pose expression where we had our hands by our sides. And then slowly come back down with the opposite cheek on the mat this time. Let all of your muscles relax and thank them for the hard work that they just did. A lot of these muscles we don't use every day, and so it can feel a little bit more intense. All right. From here, great job everyone with those. Those are tough, but important for our posterior muscles. From here, simply roll over onto your back. We'll transition onto our backs for the rest of the class.
And so once you get comfortable, I always like to kind of ease into this pose or any kind of lying down pose with my knees lifted. It just kind of helps with my lower back, just helps with the lower body, just kind of ease into it a little bit. So feel free to do that, or feel free to just let the legs go long. And before coming to our final resting pose, we'll just move through a couple of positions on our back. And so to kind of build off the theme of having our, sorry, my nose is itchy, it's like that time of year. Building off the theme of having our hips kind of rotated externally, we'll come into a reclined figure 4 position. So if your knees aren't lifted, lift the knees up towards the ceiling. The feet are planted on the mat. And start to lift your left leg up. Place your left ankle on the top of your right thigh. So like kind of right by your knee. And so on your left leg, you'll notice it may fall close to you, it may fall far away from you. The intent is to spin the left knee away from you as much as possible. So it's almost in line with your right knee. Now that's not going to happen in most bodies, but just the idea of kind of pushing the left knee away from you. So this right here might be enough of an expression. If you'd like to play around, you can grab behind the right thigh with both hands, interlock the fingers, and then squeeze, pulling the right knee up towards the chest. And as you're here, again, just coming into this kind of mindful place where without judgment, you're just noticing what's happening in your body. Checking in with your breath, like, hey, where are you now? It's like, where's Waldo? It's like they have all these different locations and places that they're going. And we have all these different movements that we're making, and the breath will just show up differently every time. It's always there for us, which is great. All right, you can go ahead and release the legs down, and then we'll do that on the opposite side. So take the right ankle to the left thigh, kind of above the knee. Push the right knee away from you as much as feels comfortable. You can stay here, or you can grab behind the left leg, squeezing the left knee in towards the chest. And then release the legs down. And then place both feet on the ground. And just for a moment, maybe walk the feet out so they're wide along the mat. And then knock the knees in a bit, just for a moment. Maybe you could even do some gentle windshield wipers here. Twisting into the lower back. And then when you're ready, start to allow the legs to go long. Allow the feet to flop out to the sides. Spin the palms up towards the ceiling, or place one hand on your heart and one on the belly. Another option for your final resting pose is to take it in a chair or in a seated position. So feel free to do whatever resonates most with you. For the first few moments of Shavasana, Can you notice how your body feels? Notice if you're still carrying tension anywhere. If you are you able to let it go, allowing the ground beneath you to support you? And when you're ready, you can begin to bring some movement back into the body. Maybe it's wiggling the toes, wiggling the fingers, rolling at the ankles or the wrists. And if you're on the ground, gently start to bring the hands above the head and maybe do a full body stretch. And with that little bit of energy force there, starting to roll yourself over onto one side. And gently, when you're ready, pushing yourself up to a seat. If you're already in seated position, we're just meeting you here. And once we're all in seated together, we can take one closing breath as a way to let go of the week that has happened behind us and allow ourselves to be open, clear for the weekend that is to come. So at the end of your next exhale, we can all breathe in together through the nose and out through the mouth. Letting it all go. And when you're ready, you can open the eyes. I so appreciate you all joining me today, and I hope that this was a nice, gentle practice to end your week or start your week, whatever it is, on a positive note. So I very, very appreciate you showing up and practicing with me today. Thank you very much. Bye, everybody.